something we all need. Gotta have it now if you wanna succeed. Striving, surviving, that's no doubt. Sticking together, we gon' find a way out. To all you young people, give it your all. To all you young people, give it your all. To all you young people, give it your all. To all you young people, give it your all.
Good afternoon, the back community. Thank you as always for staying involved. Thank you for staying engaged. Today, I do have the unique pleasure and honor of interviewing someone who went to undergrad with me at Johnson C. Smith University down in Charlotte, North Carolina. But this man has actually taught tennis at every possible level besides the pros just yet. This is my friend, Larry Holmes, a man from Rochester, New York. So, Larry, first and foremost, thank you for being on the back community. I look forward to diving into your story, bro.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a privilege. It's an honor to be on here, man.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, before we even get formally started, you got to tell me about ball sauce. So, I normally give you a formal question first, but I'm just going to hit you with ball sauce because every person I know from Rochester, we argue about the relevancy of ball sauce. So you got to break down ball sauce to me. Why is it so big in Rochester?
Okay, so ball sauce, it's a sauce that you can put on pretty much anything back home. A lot of people put it on wings, people put it on steak subs, people put it on beef patties. Me personally, I put it on steak subs, maybe once in a while on a beef patty, whatever. But that's not the true sauce. The true sauce is the country sweet sauce. And, if you're from the Rochester upstate area, country sweet, there's like one main location on Mount Hope Avenue, shout out to country sweet. They have like the good wings, the sauce is hitting. Man, I'm telling you, that's the real sauce that you need to try.
Well, that's the one they should have put me on, and that they should have put me on that.
Yes. The country sweet sauce. I mean, it's kind of like split in half. You have your people that like ball sauce or whatever on the wings. That's cool. Me, I'm not that person. Me, I like the country sweet sauce. So
Okay, fair enough. So, I'm going to hit you with your official question. So sorry, I went off on a tangent with that one, but I had to throw it out there before I forgot.
Yeah.
But I know I gave you a brief introduction, but, I know I would do you a disservice because, Larry, you have played tennis. And like I said, I've watched you play tennis. So, but I want you to give the back community a little bit more about who you are. And what you're doing professionally and, at this point in your life. So if you could, here's your chance to tell the back community more about you.
Certainly. So, as you already know, I'm from Rochester, New York. I played tennis since I was 9 years old. I grew up in the Love 15 tennis program, formerly 15 Love. I was a player, mentor, a counselor, a director, assistant director there throughout my ascension in the program. I went to Johnson C. Smith University, the best HBCU in the world.
Let's go.
Played there 4 years, all conference team, 4 tournament titles, 4 regular season titles, 4 division titles. We were a part of the longest conference dual match winning streak that the folks at Shaw University broke. We're not going to talk about them. Still to this day, I don't like Shaw University. It is what it is. And then after college, that's when I truly got involved in coaching. That's when I dove in and I taught at some clubs, in Arizona, all over the country, basically from North Carolina to Arizona, Atlanta. And then when I moved to Arizona in 2010, that's when I officially became a coach, like a high school coach. So I rose through the ranks out there. My first 2 years out there, had a top 10 team in the state. Had bunch of guys go play college tennis on the Division I, Division II, NAIA, JUCO level. Was doing that for, I want to say, 7-8 years. Then while I was high school coaching, that's when I got my first break to be a college head coach. I was a part-time coach at Benedictine University at Mesa in 2014. I was the head of that program for 2 years. The program was discontinued because, when they was going into the NAIA transition, they didn't have tennis as a conference sport. It would have left us stranded or whatever. So, while I was doing that, I still coached high school, still did my teaching pro duties. And then in 2018.
Was that Virginia Tech?
Not yet.
Oh, man.
Not yet. So 2018, I was named the interim coach at Bethany College in Kansas. It was cool. I enjoyed myself, learned a lot there, being back as the head coach. And then the summer of 2019, that's when I got my, I want to say, big break in coaching. I went to the University of Michigan tennis camp. I worked that camp, and the men's head coach, who's a mentor of mine, Adam Steinberg, he told me, if you wanted to go to be in Division I, you gotta become a volunteer assistant. And in the August of 2019, that's when Virginia Tech happened. I started out as a volunteer assistant for 2 months. Then, the assistant coach left to go to another job. So during that transition period, I got elevated to be the assistant coach for the remainder of the semester. And then I still stayed on at Virginia Tech. That was my big break, and becoming a Division I coach, And I mean, I had a boss, the head coach, Terry Ann Zawacki-Holdren. She was the best boss that anybody can work for. I learned a lot in Division I that I didn't know, that, when I was decided to become a head coach, those were the kind of things that I was going to take with me and learn. So I stayed there for 2 years. 2021, that I became a first-time Division I head coach at Norfolk State University. And, while I was there, the program was kind of on shaky ground a little bit. They had a couple different coaches in a couple years, whatever. So I went there. First season, both men's and women's teams won the division titles. Yep. And I won Coach of the Year for both programs.
Nice.
Which was, that hasn't been done in 8 or 9 years there. And then during that season, the men's program went to the conference finals, lost South Carolina State. The women lost to FAMU. And, when you start become a little bit known or whatever, people start calling you, and your phone starts to ring or whatever. And my current role right now, the director of junior tennis here at Towpath Tennis Center, my responsibility is I oversee the entire junior program, and I occasionally teach adults, do some clinics with them. Basically, I run the junior program, make sure that classes, programming, and stuff goes, and I get to really work with the juniors, from a very early age. So that's what I'm doing now.
Okay. Well, listen, you got to. There's two things. One of them, congratulations on the accolades, because I was seeing you move around so much in your development as a coach. I'm just like, man. I was like you said, you were at Norfolk, you were at Virginia Tech, you were out in Kansas, you were everywhere, and I admire the fact that you were putting in the work to actually get yourself exactly where you wanted to be, and to win both on the men's side and the women's side in the same year. As you said, when the program itself was shaky before you came in, that was huge. So congratulations to you on doing that. But I know you said that you're the director there for junior tennis. can you break it down for our viewers how important juniors are? You know, from my limited knowledge, all I'm thinking about is the King Richard movie with Venus and Serena Williams, you know, and their path to breaking it out and eventually going pro and skipping that intern period. But it sounds like some of that is what you're doing right now to groom.
Yeah, so you know, tennis has changed a long time since I played. You know, there's like, you know, it's a whole paradigm shift that is it's for the better.
Okay.
Part of it is for the better, you know. So, you know, when we grew up, you know, tennis wasn't very accessible in terms of like now it's accessible now to almost any and everyone, you know, because it kind of had this stigma that it's a country club elitist sport or whatever. You know, now you have all these different programs, you know, across America that, you know, it's easy for kids to play tennis. So to answer your question,
okay,
right now we have what's called, so the USTA, that's the United States Tennis Association. They have this program, it's called the Netgen Program. And the Netgen Program is basically, you know, specific ball for a specific age and a specific court for a specific age. And the reason for that is, you know, it's been proven that, you know, if you put a 5-year-old on the regular size court and a regular size ball, that they're not going to have a lot of success right there. So what the USCA did, which, you know, they kind of borrowed ideas from all across the world. What they did was they was like, okay, you know what? We're going to use smaller courts, bigger balls that has less compression, you know, for us to build the foundation for the kids. Nice. And basically it starts out from, you know, what's called the pre-rally stage. So pre-rally is it's on a 30'6" court. It's kind of like half of a tennis court that you can make, you know. And the cool thing is that you don't need the big nets. You can get like a portable net, and you make like 4 different courts on one tennis court.
Nice.
And you know, the pre-rally, that's from 3 to 5 years old. And for that program, you know, it's basically just to introduce them to the game. You know, you really can't teach stroke mechanics. You can teach some, but you really can't like dive into it. Like you can't really get into the intricacies of it. Then we have what's called red ball. Red ball is pretty much the same thing as pre-rally, but it's from 6 to 7-year-old kids. And then the next level is orange ball. Now, orange ball is a little bit different because you're going to use the actual net, and you're going to use the 60-foot courts. If you go to like, now at parks, they don't line the courts down like that. But if you go to like a tennis club or whatever, they'll have like, if you go to a court, you'll see blue lines like highlighted across the court. That's the 60-foot court. And that's for ages 8 and 9-year-olds, you know. And in that, then you can start really teaching the stroke mechanics and getting into the techniques and the stances and everything, the grips and everything like that. Then the next level is green ball. The green ball it's almost like the regulation yellow ball, but it has 25% less compression in it though. And the green ball, you use the full court, but the ball is just, you know, it's a green ball.
Okay.
And that goes from ages 9 to 10. Now that's where you can really dive into it. And then once a kid becomes 11, then that's when they use the full court, regular ball, you know, that sort of thing. Now, is there right and wrong ways? Is there one way to do it? No. But, you know, based off of what, you know, we've seen across the world, that's the proper development that people do. Now, you may have a kid. Now, I know some kids that play with the yellow ball at age 8 and 9 years old. You know, it's not a wrong way to do it. It's just, you know, people have their own set core things to do. So,
Gotcha. Yeah, that was that was one of the reasons why I wanted you on the back community too, because 15 Love was a program that was accessible to me when I was younger. So I went because one, it was a free program, and it was right across the street from my cousin's house. So whenever I would stay over there, we would go across the street and play tennis. I always sucked, so I'm just gonna throw that out there. So I sucked back then. Even when I met you guys at Johnson C. Smith and was hanging out with you, Mike and Maurice and them, I sucked then too. But it was always great to be able to watch you guys in your element, and you guys were always open to allowing me to come in and play with it. And shout out, I'm also going to say rest in peace and shout out to Coach Cub, because your coach at Johnson C. Smith was huge, and I would come by and sit there and watch you guys play. And I know it was probably like, well, what is Rel doing here watching us play tennis? Like, I know he got mad at it, he could do something else. But no, I always like learning. So I would sit there, and Coach Cub would always be like, he always called me Terrell. No matter how many times I told him my name was Tyrell, he would always say, Terrell, what you doing over there? What are you doing over there? So he's like, we'll keep these guys in line. Keep these guys in line, man. And he actually allowed me to go on some of the trips with you guys, which was really cool. But my question is, how has coaching been for you? You know what I mean? I know you said you've been playing tennis, the sport, since you were 9. But as you said, traditionally or stereotypically, they say tennis is primarily a sport for whites, right? And that has grown, that has changed drastically, especially if you say that the GOAT of tennis is Serena Williams. That has changed drastically. But how has it been for you breaking down barriers or involving yourself on the coaching level in the sport of tennis?
So when I was 13, that's when I became like a coach with 15 Love. Everything that I've learned, my foundation, my roots stem from 15 Love 15 currently now, so Love 15 will always be a part of me. That's, that program has created a lot of good players, not just myself, also cranked out a lot of good coaches and teaching pros, so to answer your question, in the coaching industry, so I'll just say this, in the coaching industry or whatever, it depends on, where you are, and who, and, who's hiring you, and to be honest, when I first got my true, teaching tennis, in Charlotte, I forgot the guy's name. He ran the 704 Academy. Gotcha. And the 704 Academy, he happens to know Coach and and Calvin Davis, who is Calvin Davis. If you don't know about Calvin Davis is like one of the coaches, one of the top coaches in North Carolina. Primarily, he coaches at Charlotte Country Day, and nice. This dude, he cranked out D1 players almost every single year, regardless. So, from that relationship, okay. Now, when you're in a private club setting or whatever, some people may look at you and scoff and be like, whatever. But, for me, it hasn't been that case, because I've always had people, former bosses that looked at me. They didn't care about, oh, he's a black man. They care about my talent, my ability, how well I can coach, how well I can lead, how well I can instruct people. Nice. How well, the retention rate, because that's the key. If you go to a private club, it's all about, trying to retain membership and always trying to keep students and clients engaged. And, Now, on the college level, I mean, I think that, to be honest, and I can only speak for me, I think that there's a ways to go in that. If
Fair
you're
enough.
not at an HBCU, or if you're at like, or if you have like a ton of experience on, the mid-major level or Power Five level, you know, then you have some way to go. Now, you know, right now in Power Five, there's like for the men's and women's tennis in Power Five alone, there is less than 10 African American coaches or coaches of color in Power Five, men and women.
Gotcha.
You know, and Brian Shelton, who is the men's head coach at Florida, he's won national championships at Georgia Tech and at Florida. The only coach and the only black coach to do so. So,
Okay, so more on the collegiate level is still in certain areas, like you said, depending on where you are, there's still a ways to go in terms of breaking down the barriers and making it more accessible for people of color to get those positions as coach.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
when I was at Virginia Tech, I mean, to be honest with you, I got very lucky,
Hmm.
because I was like, you want to hire me to come to Virginia Tech? I was like, really? Like,
Hmm.
I was shocked, whatever. But
Nice.
I mean, like they talked to people that they know who knew me, who knew of me, and
Hmm.
that's how I landed at Tech. So,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I am always forever grateful for Terry and Zlaki Holdren for giving me that opportunity.
Nice. Wait. Well, I started laughing as you were answering that one because I got to get you on the record. I got to see. I know that I seen a picture of you previously with Arthur Ashe. Who some people, a lot of people, what I mean, consider to be the greatest of all time and breaking down a lot of barriers in the sport of tennis. But especially with her. At the last leg of her career right now, Serena and everyone saying she's the GOAT. I gotta ask you, my man, who is the greatest of all time?
Oh
Now
man,
remember, all your
yeah,
tennis fans is watching this. All of them, they coming for you.
I would say, I mean, for the women, I would say Serena. I would say her. On the men's side, I would say Roger Federer.
Okay.
You know, now as a tennis as a tennis humanitarian, I would say Arthur Ashe, because Arthur Ashe, I mean, and a lot of people don't know this though. He was very influential to getting tennis into like the inner cities,
Mm.
because when he started, he started in Virginia,
Okay,
and in
Virginia.
Virginia, you know, back in that time, it was segregated. And his coach, R.W. Johnson, he had a history of taking young African American kids, building them up, taking them to these white clubs, quote unquote,
Yeah.
and a lot of his clubs beat him.
Mm.
And here's a little known fact about that though. So R.W. Johnson have coached two Grand Slam champions,
Mm.
Arthur Ashe and
Mm.
Althea Gibson.
Mm.
So not a lot of people know about that though.
Okay. Not a lot of people probably even know about Althea Gibson,
Yeah.
but that's that's the dopeness and uniqueness of you. Like, I said, this podcast is always about highlighting individuals and organizations, because a lot of times it'll be someone like yourself who's an unsung hero, right? Because what you're doing, you're still breaking down barriers and stereotypes in a sport and in a culture that it's not the first choice. He's like, it's football or it's basketball, but it's just like, I love the fact that you love what you do, you're passionate about it, and you're also leading African Americans as well as everyone else who I know who you coach, but into the sport. You know, I have a cousin back home who has her son into tennis right now, and I think that it's very important to expose kids in the inner city to as many different programs and ways of life that are out there, and tennis is one of them. And we've seen it. In regards to what it can produce, and some of the greatest tennis players of all time. So, you know, tennis is huge. Making it accessible and affordable to those individuals in urban cities or the people throughout the world is actually something that I think needs to have more focus on right now. Because when we look at, one of the questions I ask my viewers is like, what happened to all of the programs that we had in Albany, right? And I always bring up 15 Love, like 4-H camp, summer camps and stuff like that, right? But it's just like, you know, there's a shortage of the funding of those programs, but they're so important to exposing and opening the minds. So, you know, how has it been for you being an educator in the sport of tennis and transforming so many people that you've been able to coach?
So, I mean, it's been amazing for me though, because I mean, you know, because like when I see, so when I coached back, you know, 20 years ago with the 15 Love program, Love 15, you know, I was seeing like a lot of kids that looked like me, little kids that looked just like me, and they were like, you know, they didn't have an idea that, oh, tennis can take them, you know, places or whatever, you know, and I'm always telling them, and I will always tell them, hey, you know what, you can be just like me, but be better than me. You know, don't just, you know, say, oh, well, Coach Larry, you know, he went to Johnson C. Smith and he did this and he's done. No, be better than me. So for me, that's the example that I want to like show kids from the inner city. Because here's the thing about that, though, you know, now we all know that tennis and basketball and football, they're going to take precedent over a lot of sports or whatever, because one is cheaper, it's a little bit cheaper, you know, than tennis. So the thing is that, like, you know, if you want to go play tennis, how do you go about it? Where do you go? And the cool thing about it is that there are a lot of like USTA NJTL programs, that's National Junior Tennis League programs, that across the country here, that, you know, you may have to pay a small fee, but, you know, but that small fee, whatever, or even free, you can be exposed to tennis, or you can like play tennis year round. I mean, like, I'm not sure about the USTA Eastern section, which Albany, you know, is from New York to northern Jersey. You know, that's the USTA Eastern section. I don't know if they have, I mean, in Albany specifically, but if you go online and like, or contact like a community outreach person from the USTA Eastern, you know, they can like point you to the right direction. Now, if you wanted to go to the private setting or whatever, you know, yes, it's going to cost you a little bit though, because they see it as a business. They see it as a business or whatever, you know, like a lot of the NJTL programs, they're nonprofit, you know, just like 15 Love or Love 15, they're nonprofit. And like, I get this question asked to me all the time, you know, well, you grew up in the hood. How did you manage to play tennis? Well, for that, like, I got a bunch of scholarships to go to like different clubs, you know, like, you know, and my pops, he was very instrumental in that though, because, you know, he saw like, you know, he basically, some of the kids that I grew up with playing tennis with, he saw potential in all of us. And it was like a small group of us that went out and we played tournaments in the summer, and we were beating some kids. And then some of these clubs starting to see, oh, well, let's offer this kid a scholarship. Let's offer them a scholarship or whatever. And when we got there, I mean, you know, when we got there, we got dirty looks from some of the paying members. We got like, I mean, some of these members like, well, why are these, you know, inner city kids here? All they're going to do is steal, you know, and I remember, and my pops told me this like a couple of years ago. There was a general manager at the club, one of the club. Not going to say his name, but you know, he wanted us to earn our scholarship there. He wanted us to be janitors and serve food at the club. And my pop was like, no, these kids are going to like play tennis. They're going to stay high on their academics, and they're going to, you know, earn their keep.
Nice.
And, you know, and my pops, I got to commend him for that, because, you know, most people are like, oh, yeah, well, we can do some side jobs and do that. But, you know, he was very firm on, you know, us being good students and good people, and, you know, making sure that we had the same opportunities. And then when we started to beat these kids that were paying, a lot of the parents pulled their kids out of the programs the same programs that we were in. They pulled us out. They went to a different club, and
they said, we're not going to be having these kids over here beating my kid.
Exactly. These kids that aren't paying a dime, we're not going to have them come up and beat our kids. So, I mean, like, but then again, you know, and then again, we had some parents that were actually cool. Like some of the parents, like they, you know, like if we had to go to Albany or Syracuse for a tournament, you know, they would like say, hey, would you like to like come with us, and you can stay with us in the hotel. We'll take you up there and bring you home. I mean, you know, there were some like very good people that did that for us, because nice. I mean, to be honest with you, tennis is not very cheap. Tennis is not cheap, you know, and like, you know, you got people that pay the way for us to have these go to tournaments and everything. So, I mean, and I gotta give a big shout out to John and Stacy Tully. Sorry, that's a kid. I gotta give a shout out to Brian and Stacy Tully for always being gracious and accommodating to us anytime that they saw us. So, if you're listening or watching, thank you.
And I'm glad you just said that, because it'll take other individuals who may have a little bit more resources to pour into you so that you can develop into who you are. And we see that in anything, whether you're in academics, getting a chance to go travel and explore, to see other colleges or to see other states, whether or not if you're in sports, you know what I mean, getting a chance to be able to expose yourself to some other greater skilled individuals. It always takes individuals that have compassion in the heart. So, you know, we're always thankful for those, because I think our generation right now is, I think us as parents, right, we're more open to allowing our kids, and we have the resources now too, to allow our kids to explore in different avenues outside of just your common basketball and football. We got people in soccer, fencing, robotics, tennis, you name it. And I think it's very important to explore all of those. I was just talking to my 6-year-old and my mother-in-law yesterday, and I'm a big music head. So naturally, all my kids like music too, right? So my mother-in-law puts on an old Elvis Presley song, Return to Sender, right? And she's educating him on the song. And I asked him, I said, well, how do you like it? And he goes like this, right? He puts thumbs down. I was like, well, and I said, well, here's the cool part, right? There's so many different types of music to expose yourself to. And I want you to be exposed to all of it. And it's just like with sports. It's just like, I want you to be exposed to all of it. Find what it is that you like you know what I mean, realize that these opportunities are available. And I think for a lot of people in the inner city, you know what I mean, a lot of times we don't see those opportunities readily available. So we never get a chance to find out whether or not if you like it or not. But our generation is exposing a lot more of the young adults to it. And I really like that.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about today's, our generation is that, like, they see people like Serena, Venus, Coco Gauff, Francis Tiafoe, Chris Ebanks, Sloane Stevens. They see those types of people, and like, they see them, and then they say, "Oh well, okay, how can I play?" Like, I'm coaching a 9-year-old girl right now that, like, she is very ambitious, and she's an African American girl, and she's very ambitious, and she wants to, try and play on the highest level
Nice.
that she can. And her parents are very supportive of that. And, and I'm like, wow, like, I was like, wow, I mean, I wish I had my grandmother was like this. I mean, she was happy that I was out of the house, But now she's starting to see, like, more of our generation, exposing their kids to, like, things that was never accessible to them. Like, tennis, golf, and fencing and swimming, and and it's a beautiful thing to see because a lot of people has the stereotype of us we can play basketball, we can play football, we can run, jump, and sprint fast, but can you think? Can you use your mind? And in tennis, you have to think quickly. You got to have that decision making, that critical thinking skills quickly, So it's a beautiful thing to see.
Okay. And I'm gonna hit you with one of my favorite questions that I ask everyone that comes on the back community. And I love it because I'm sure, the answer is going to be different for everybody. But thinking about the younger version of Larry Holmes, right? So thinking about you as a young adult, what is something that you wish someone would have told to you when you were still a youth, right? What is something that now as an adult that you wish someone would have taken the time to mold you in or to say to you? What would you say to the younger Larry?
To the younger me, I would say that my work ethic needs to get better.
Okay.
Because I was that kid, in group lessons or practice that would, like, be like, oh, my stomach hurt, my pancreas hurts. like I said that the very first day in college, and Cub was like, get in line, son. And like, and like, I didn't have that work ethic that I have now, because now you're older, and now you just can't solely rely on your athleticism. You gotta, like, rely on everything. Your work ethic. You're lifting, you're eating, you're taking care of yourself. So that's the one thing that I would say that I would tell my younger self, that I wish I could have, like, worked harder and improved.
Okay. Listen, I appreciate that. I appreciate the vulnerability in answering that. And, because, sometimes we don't take the criticism too well, but I think, learning how to critique ourselves naturally will make you better.
Yeah.
Second question. If you were to define success, how would you define success? What does success look like for you?
Well, for a long time, I kind of, like, struggled. I struggled with this because, it was kind of like when I first got into coaching, coaching kids, I would always think that, hey, you always got to win. You got to win no matter what. You got to win, 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 win. And that if you have that mentality that you got to win all the time, that's going to take a lot of like draining. It's going to be draining you because it's going to stress you out because you can't control the outcome. You gotta, the outcome is coming from somebody else. So, later in life, what I've learned is that, success, for me as a coach is for you to get better. If I can help you get better and help you become a better person, then I've done my job. And at the end of the day, if I can help you go to college and get you go to college for free or pay a little less to go to college, then to me, that's success. When you graduate 4 years from now and you walk out that door and you like, hey, coach, I got my degree, that will, to me, that's success, not just seeing you as an athlete, but seeing what type of person that you are. I mean, and, being as young as I am right now, a lot of the kids that I coach in the private settings, they're starting to graduate college and they're starting to have families. And, I get like, invitations to go to, kids' weddings or baptisms or about, something, and to me, that's the ultimate sign of success is, you're touching somebody else's life, making their life better.
I love it. Yeah, because one, just to piggyback off of what you said, right? I think one of the negatives of always searching for or trying to win, right? I think that you don't understand the balance or what happens in between, right? So there's losing and then there's winning, right? And for some people, that's all that there is. But what you just talked about was the development piece that happens in between losing and winning. The things that matter. What kind of substance, what kind of character do you have? Do you have the skills to communicate? Do you have the skills to be a good person? Do you have the skills to make it in life, not just win? So, understanding that, in between losing and winning is this thing called progress, right? It's this thing called a process that matters. And that process is what you just described, Larry, and it's about character development.
Yeah, Coach Cub, he instilled that in us. We won a lot, but he made sure that we went to class. He made sure that we treated people respectfully, professors, administrators, everybody respectfully. And, that was his, he has like a lot of different sayings or whatever, and you heard probably, now you probably heard the PG ones, but we've heard some rated R ones for a while. But for him, his whole thing was like he wanted us to become men.
Yeah.
Men of character, men that can go out into the world and do and teach the same lessons and values that he was teaching us. Because a lot of us, a lot of the guys on the team, we didn't have dads. So he was, our dad in a way. And he just basically, teaching, lessons to us as, from 18 to 22, 23 years old. And, that's why, Coach, I'm so indebted to him and so endeared to him because, he came into, my life where he was that father figure.
Yeah.
At times he was a little bit much, as you know. With the son, come here.
Come here.
Larry Maurice, come here, son. You know, but he, but it came from a true, genuine place.
Yep.
And he would do pretty much anything and anything and everything for you, and that's why he is so loved and so revered.
Yep.
All of his players, and at his funeral, it showed.
Yep.
So you have guys that played on his '96 team,
yep,
his very first year, to his last team, and that shows what type of man he was. He was truly a man of character, truly a man that he didn't take a lot of BS if you screwing around, or if you wasn't like being a gentleman though.
Yep. Yep. Nope. Coach Cub was definitely good for that, and he treated everyone the same across the board. So Absolutely. Even me as an outsider, if I was hanging with y'all,
got the same thing we did.
Yeah, got the same thing you got, and I always respect people like that have the character enough to treat everyone the same. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, shout out to Coach Cub again, man. Shout out to Johnson C. Smith. Shout out to you, CIAA champions. I think you guys had the tagline for a while, Lord of the Rings. And, we have a running joke among me, Lex, and Mike Sims of something funny that happened there with that whole tagline for Lord of the Rings. But I'll tell you offline.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
But I got one more question for you before you go. And this one is more about you as the person. So thinking about everything that you've experienced up to this point in life, what about your life's path are you most proud of, Larry?
Oh man. I would have to, well, there's two of them actually.
Okay.
The first one would be me being a first generation high school graduate and college graduate. Because I'm the only one in my family to graduate from both high school and college. And my grandmother, I can remember from an early age that she said that, you need to go to school, graduate, and do everything that you need to do to, provide a better life for yourself and your family. And, that's what I try to do. That, I always keep her on the forefront of my mind, because, she was always that determined, that driven, especially from her coming from the deep South, where, she got, she only got a high school education. My biological father, he only got a high school education, and then to see me get a high school education and a college degree, that day when I graduated, I gave her my diploma, and I told her thank you, because she was that one person that, seen the ups and downs, that seen me struggle, even in college, while I was having a hard time, she, because, she was always that person that I can turn to and count on. And for me to do that for her, that's truly a blessing. And that's, and I'm thankful that I had the opportunity for her to see that moment, because, she was there, she witnessed it, and, it was her, out of all her grandkids, I was the first one to do it. Nice. The second one was, my first Division I coaching job at Norfolk State. Okay. Because I was excited that, hey, you know what? I made it. This was a dream. If you was to ask me 10 years ago if I was going to be a Division I coach, I'd probably tell you no. But, seeing everybody that have like gone through it and done it. And the biggest thing that and I got a shout out to Justin, and I got a shout out to Justin Stuckey. My doubles partner, he was the one that was a college coach that got me involved with it, and that made sure that I was the one that got on that college coaching path. So, and him and I talk daily, and I'm always picking his brain because he's been in the game for almost 15 years. And
nice. Shout out to Stuckey on that one too, man.
Yeah, and the thing, and like for me to like, be coach of the year when there's 33 conferences in Division One, to be named one of the top 33 best coaches in America. I mean, not for one program, but two programs. I mean, that's kind of saying something right there. So
I agree. I agree. Those are two big ones, right? And I'm glad you shared those with me. And I think that, I'm going to add a third one on for you, right? Just seeing you, who you are and where you are, understanding how much you had to go through from family to school to career. You standing here or sitting here today on the back community is a major accomplishment to be able to get that done. And I'm thankful to share the experience with you because you're a very successful person. I like to give people their flowers while I can. Like I said, I admire what you're doing. I want you to continue to push forward. I want you to continue to break down barriers and open up doors for not just people that look like us, but for everybody, because, a heart of compassion goes a lot further. It sees a lot further than just color, right? And you have a heart of compassion. So shout out to you for all that you do and all that you have done. And I wish you continued success as you continue to add those milestones onto your career, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. I mean, like it means the world coming from you though, man. Because I mean, you kind of saw the ascension of it.
Yep,
and now that we're starting to go upward and do more, it's I mean, for me, I mean, I'm not going to say that, this is going to be the end all be all for me though. Cause,
Oh, absolutely not.
I mean, who knows where I will be at though. But, the only thing I can say is that, just keep my feet planted firmly where I am now. Hopefully, I make a difference here, with our members and our junior program and my bosses and
And I know you will, but I think you said I'm gonna end it on here. There is still one level to go. There's only one place where you haven't had the success just yet, and that is the pros. But in due time, enjoy where you are currently, because I think there's nothing greater than sharing and teaching other people. They say it's very easy to create success for ourselves. It's very hard to create success for other people. And what you're doing there, JTO, is you're creating success for other people. So shout out to you, shout out to your whole program, shout out to the sport of tennis, shout out to Rochester. And I'm not gonna go with ball sauce again. I'm gonna get country sweet next time.
Yes.
I want country sweet.
Yes, yes. They serve it in a big bottle, and again, the country. Now, if you get the country sweet sauce, make sure you get you either get the medium flavor of country sweet sauce.
Okay, I'm on it. I'm on it. Well, listen, the back community, thank you as always for staying in tune with us. Today's guest, once again, is Larry Holmes, a junior tennis coach. D1 coach, soon to be a pro coach at some level. You know what I mean? But thank you for affording me your time today. I look forward to getting your story out to the people, Larry.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
JCSU. I'll see you later, man.
All right, man.
Keep climbing up the ladder. A Black Lives Matter. It matter. So all you young people, give it all. 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 Matter, matter. A Black Lives Matter. They matter, they matter. A Black Lives Matter.